talking about a bit of news too, we'll talk about before we actually talk about the matches and that is the Cody Rhodes situation with the injury. Now, I wrestled for 20 years. I had some major injuries with bicep tendons torn off, Achilles tendons torn off.
Ooh.
Right, I've had some bad ones, right, where my whole arm is blackened up and full of blood. My calf has gone black and full of blood. My quad almost tore off from the bone on the left leg, right? So I've had some nasty ones. And I will tell you this now, the bicep one, when it tore clean off, it rolled up my arm, but there was no pain. The most painful ones that I had were the ones that were still hanging on by the nerve endings. They are painful. No matter, you can't move properly. Any way position you put yourself in. Now, if Cody Rhodes wrestled with a partially torn, that wasn't gone right off the bone, because he would have either lost the pec down or lost the pec up. Something would have rolled. And if you ever watched the John Cena one that happened in the early teens, 210, 209 or something like that, right, where the bicep rolled up, the pec rolled up, that's a full tear, right? If it's still hanging on and sitting there, it's not a full tear, it's a partial tear, right? And that for me is more painful than a full tear, right? I've had both. I've experienced both.
Well,
right?
They're saying it was a full tear, but I don't
Doesn't look like it because the pec was still in position.
Okay, well, you'd know better than me, because I was actually going to ask you about that on there, because obviously I don't know that side of it.
I've experienced it. It's not fun.
No, that's why I thought if anyone would know, you would, because of what you've been through. But they were saying that he partially tore it against Rawlins in a match, and then when he was training and lifting weights, when he was lifting the weights and training for this pay-per-view, is where he tore it off the bone.
Well, I don't know what bone.
Muscle, so
no, I don't know what bone he's tore it off, because usually the pec will roll top or bottom. If you
again, I don't know. So you're suggesting it's not totally torn?
I don't think it's a total tear, but it's nasty, the blackening of it, and that's probably worse. Yeah. That's probably worse than the full tear. So full tear, once it tears off, the nerve ending's gone, so you don't really feel it. When I tore my bicep off, I was working under a truck pulling cables the next day before I went in for surgery.
Right.
So it's like once that happens, it's gone. You don't feel any pain, right? It's awkward. You don't have any power in your arm, and it's all full of blood, but you can move it, right?
Okay.
But when it's a partial tear, like when I done the Achilles, that was months. That was months and months and months of pain. You move it the wrong way.
Surgery tomorrow, and they're saying he'll be out for about 6 months.
That sounds right. It sounds right.
What Cena did, but he came back in about 3 or 4, didn't he?
Yeah, but if you have a look at Cena's pec tear, it rolled.
Yeah,
literally rolled down, rolled up.
Is it better for it to sort of tear right off, as far as then putting it all back together and healing, or is it much of a muchness?
I think it's much of a muchness. Look, if the tendon is still partially there and they can stitch back to the tendon, it's a better repair. Like when mine come off completely, they had to use a plate to jam it to the bone.
Ooh.
So I have a plate in my arm that holds the tendon in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but if they can organically join it to what's left of the.
Yeah.
It's better. I think it's a better repair, they reckon. That's what the doctors told me when they said to me, but I just couldn't believe they actually wrestled with it. I mean, because it would have been more painful than that's if it's. I actually questioned watching the match. I said, this guy must be on something, because I know right now I don't think I'll be lifting my arm above my head or doing anything like that.
Yeah, I know who cleared him, but I wouldn't have cleared him.
Well, they said that he absolutely demanded to go out. It was obviously a main event of a pay-per-view, and I think he still comes from that old school upbringing. Look, I respect. I mean, I like him as a worker. I think he's pretty good.
Yep.
And I respect what he did, and really, to be honest with you, keyboard warriors will get on social media and say everything, but it's absolutely minimal to no disrespect. Everyone's going, wow. He's gone up in everyone's estimations heaps. So it's done him no harm at all. maybe physically, but you know what I mean in terms of his image and his marketing, and I mean it's obviously put a halt on the whole program he's got because he was going to win Money in the Bank and go on, but that's okay. It's a short-term hiccup, but when he comes back, I think he's going to come back with even more heat than when he came.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
I think in a funny sort of way, it sort of worked out well, but if you look for the positive,
it's done nothing to hurt him.
Oh God, no! And the match was brilliant.
Great match. As I'm saying, I don't really think I've seen him have a bad match. Since he's come back to WWE.
Well,
I think he'd have to be, I reckon, as pure wrestler, one of the best on the planet at the moment.
I love the match. You'll be very surprised later when I give my scores, though, when we're doing that. But I sort of wrote that I thought it was an instant classic.
Yeah.
It was a real old school main event.
Yeah.
It didn't do too much outrageous shit, but we'll talk about the match obviously. But introducing the old bull rope and
that was good. Yeah, that was really good.
It was a real old school main event that was. Well, I loved it. I got to be honest. I thought that was a very, and considering what he was going through.
Well, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
And you got to pay homage to Rawlins, who obviously had to.
Oh, Rawlins is a great worker.
Really had to do his part to help get this across as well. Taking into account, the injury and whatnot, because you'd know better than me. If you're in there with someone and they're injured, you got to take a lot of the responsibility on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think it was kudos to both of them. And I think even though Rawlins lost, and everyone's saying, well, why lose 3 in a row, blah, blah, blah. It's probably done him more good than harm. And he understands the business. He understands it about putting everything over.
Yeah. And
it's Andre the Giant never had a world title bout, but he didn't need one.
No, I didn't need
to prove he was great. Yeah, Rawlins didn't need the win to say he was good or bad.
No, I agree. 100%.
We'll talk about it later. Yeah, but it's a terrible shame that really getting towards the peak of where Cody was going, that happened. But as you know, scripted or not scripted or whatever, the boys and girls in there take a lot of punishment.
Yeah. You end up feeling it later on in life.
Yeah,
later in life you feel it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but anyway,